health and multilingualism, and also social cohesion due to multilingualism. This is something that we will look at. So what is multilingualism? It is basically the use of more than one language by an individual or a group of speakers. Use of more than one language. Roughly 40% of the world population use more than one language now. However, less than 10% are actually comfortable with more than one language in reading, writing, and speaking reasonably well. So language competency in multilingualism is low, but expressions of multilingualism is very common, and India has one of the largest population in the world who speak more than one language, which means we are a nation of polyglots, means a nation which speaks many languages. Not only we speak in many languages, we also speak a lot, which is one good thing. In fact, one of the reasons we are socially cohesive compared to what we find in Middle East is because we talk to each other, we talk a lot. In fact, talking is such an important thing that there are many houses with no toilets, but they already have one or two mobiles. Okay. So obviously we have given a lot of, that's why it's very difficult to make children keep quiet in the class, because culturally we speak a lot. So for them to keep quiet for 45 minutes also is difficult. Motivation for multilingual, many motivations. You look at 8th Gnanapith awardees in Kannada, which is, if not the, I think it's the highest, if not the one of the highest number of Gnanapith awarded to a specific language in India. These are the 8, and 4 of them do not have their mother tongue as Kannada. It is either Tamil or Marathi. Okay. So obviously they have done well in Kannada because they also have advantage of knowing other languages. Okay. So which is obviously saying multilingualism is indeed an advantage. The second motivation is, this is a very interesting person. He was in the news very recently in some other context. I'll come to that. He is blind and can speak 22 languages. He is a Sanskrit and Hindi scholar. He never used Braille. He is a lifelong chancellor of a Jagadguru Rambhadracharya Handicapped University at Chitrakuta. It gives UG and PG education to youth with any of the 4 types of disabilities. He is author of 80 books, and in 2023 was awarded the Gnanapith Award. And recently the chairman of the Combined Defense Services, he went before Operation Sindoor and took his blessings. Okay. This is about a month back. Okay. And university is interesting because it provides education to only disabled people. It is exclusive university for physical deformity and physical challenges. Started by him and run by him. It's an amazing place, unlike our universities. Okay. Motivation for multilingualism is, you can stretch further, even in English. For example, R.K. Narayan is probably one of the most famous of English writers out of India. Many of you who have done work in sociology and social anthropology cannot miss one of the most important books written by M.N. Srinivas, this remembered village. This many of you would not know, but he's the world's greatest statistician in history of time. Okay. He's C.R. Rao, whose native language is Telugu, but he was born and initially raised in Huvin Hadagli. Okay. Bhimsen Joshi, everybody knows, very popular of singing in 8 or 9 different languages. Okay. Equally versatile in Kannada and Marathi. And all these people have their mother tongue, which is different. Okay. Srinivas and Narayan's mother tongue is Tamil. I had met R.K. Narayan while he was in Mysore. His grandson was my classmate. I met M.N. Srinivas in his last days when he was in National Institute of Advanced Study in NIAS in Bangalore. I met C.R. Rao, who came for a keynote talk in Indian Institute of Science. Of course, I've listened to many of Bhimsen Joshi's concert, but these are the people who have excelled in languages which is not their mother tongue. That's the beauty of it. They are also world known. Okay. So there is definitely merit in this, and it is not a local phenomena. It's a global phenomena. For example, Rabindranath Tagore got a Nobel Prize for his work in Bengali called Gitanjali, but he did not get it for the Bengali writing. Yeats had translated that into English, and he got the Nobel Prize for that because it was in English. Only the rules changed much later. I'll come to that. One of the greatest writer of all times was influenced generations of people, including Mahatma Gandhi, is Leo Tolstoy. His original writing is definitely not in English. Okay. It's in Russian. And similarly, this author, please remember this author is so famous and powerful in his writing that he actually waited about 35 years to get Nobel Prize, because after he started writing, it took the world to understand better, and they changed the rule that non-English writing can also get Nobel Prize. And he was one of the earliest, not the earliest, but one of the earliest to get. This is Gabriel Marquez, okay, the Spanish writer. And of course, everybody knows Lata Mangeshkar, who's probably sung in 20 different languages, equally good and impressive, okay? So, excellence and serious knowledge, language is not a barrier. You should not make language a barrier to learn and enjoy. That's the beauty of humanity, and good examples like this. So why multilingualism? Critical mechanism to understand, communicate, and transact with others, basically cross-cultural knowledge system and trade. After all, we saw in the morning and the earlier session that so many people from Southeast Asia, West Asia, Southern Europe, Eastern Africa were coming to India and trading on the West Coast. And none of them knew our language. We did not dare know their language. So somehow we had interpreters who could understand both. And slowly and surely, more and more people realized that by learning a foreign language, you gain advantage in trade. That's typically how it happened. Trade led to cultural impacts. And not surprisingly, the second mosque in the world is in Kerala. And some of the earliest Christian churches were also in India. Okay, trade brought that. Okay, you must also realize there's significant difference between the way Christianity and Islam was practiced in South India, because they came through trade, whereas Islam came through conquest in North India and Christianity came through colonialism in North India. It didn't come through trade. Okay, so it was quite different before, more liberal, like an Indian system, compared to the very rigid fundamentalist outlook that we experienced in North India. Okay. What multilingualism does is it enhances the knowledge system of everyone when interaction, assimilation, integration of diverse and rich thoughts and experiences and perceptions happen. Okay. For example, today, word like chutney, catamaran, or Oxford English Dictionary words now. Okay. And it is not necessary that our own language has the best expression for human thought. For example, you look at the word prayashchit. There is no better and more beautiful word than that in any other language. And this word, if you want to express it in other languages, you probably need a sentence, and even then it may not be effective. So every language has its beauty and depth. Some have it more. That's all one can say now. Okay. Human thoughts and emotions transcend language barriers and needs to be bridged. I want to express something and I want to perceive something. Language cannot be a barrier. The beauty of humanity is that we should be able to transcend these barriers and express our deepest thoughts and perceptions and knowledge. Okay. So that's the reason why multilingualism leads to multiculturalism, which is exactly what you see in, at least in subcontinent of India. Two interesting examples even today. This is where I live, Mysore. So almost every railway uh, notices and boards tend to carry at least three language indication: English, Hindi, and the local language. Okay. This is more interesting. This is English, Chinese, Tamil, and Malay. So this is in Malaysia, where you need to actually make all the public boards in 4 languages. Okay. You don't find it in America. America, you'll find one language. With some difficulty today, particularly in the southern states of US, you have an occasional board in Spanish. Otherwise, the whole of US has one board in English. Okay. There are many interesting examples in history. For example, supposedly Seleucus Nicator's daughter or sister, some records say sister, some say daughter, married Chandragupta, and she obviously did not know Sanskrit or Prakrit, and he did not know Greek or even any of the West Asian languages, Persian or anything. Okay. So how did they manage to live and communicate? Okay. The other interesting thing is this pillar inscription in Vidisha. It dates to 2nd century current era. Language is Central Asian epigraphic Prakrit with a few Sanskritized spellings. The script is Brahmi script. It was issued by the Bactrian ambassador of the Eastern Greek Empire named Heliodorus. And apparently he converted to Vaishnavism, whatever it is, but he definitely gave a big grant of gold here for establishing a Vishnu temple there. Okay. This in Vidisha. So let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of multilingualism. Okay. Ability to understand and interact with different knowledge systems. Socio-cultural and economic benefits of knowing more than one language. Enhancing some expression in our own language. We will see later there is a medical proof that both health and opportunity is proven to improve with multilingualism, because when you speak different languages, different parts of the muscles operate. When you speak the same language, a set of muscles continuously operate, other muscles don't. And this is strongly linked to issues like dementia and all that today. Okay. Truth can be better discerned in the original language. Suppose you are reading, you want to enjoy Shakespeare or anything like that. You must read it in the original Shakespeare in English. Translations are not necessarily very effective. Even in scientific literature, many people want to study the original source. For example, all of Einstein's papers are not in English, they are in German. Okay, so he seems to have communicated his ideas better in German than the English translation. Okay. The disadvantage of multilingualism is effort spent on multiple languages may not yield the same benefit. It's more expensive and no cumulative benefit if not consistently used. That's another problem. Do you want to spend more effort on a second language, or do you want to spend the same effort on mastering one language? This is another issue. So at what cost to master one language or to learn more languages? See, I learned German when I was in class 9 and 10. But today I can read, I can follow a little when somebody speaks. I cannot speak more than 10 words. And I lost all the advantage of starting early because there was no continuity. See, unless you speak to others in a language, the language will not improve. It soon gets lost. Writing, reading is much later. You have to continuously converse with people in a new language. Only then that language sticks to you. Okay. And today's online translators make it redundant to learn language. This is another problem with technology. Technology basically kills diversity. Today, you have online translators like ChatGPT and others, and there are more powerful ones coming. They can actually make learning any other language redundant. For example, in the next 4 or 5 years, you will have phones which will have buttons saying which language is the speaker speaking, and another button to tell which language you want to hear that speak. Suppose somebody in Russia speaks in Russian, you can press a button and say, I want to hear it in Kannada, and you will get online Kannada. And when you reply back in Kannada, the other party will hear it in Russian. So with this kind of things slowly emerging, it will kill the idea and kill the need to learn another language. So technological progress actually diminishes human diversity, human genuine expressions and talent. It becomes very monotonous and very mechanical. Home and abroad. You see, this is a research, plenty of research articles are there, but this is one newspaper link that I have provided here. It says bilinguals cuts dementia prevalence in the elderly. This is on 17th March 2024. So numerous scholarly articles, well researched from Europe and USA, they all conclude bilingualism, at least bi, in speech allows for better cognition and lower incidence and degree of dementia. It is indeed a serious problem as USA and to a lesser extent Europe is monolingual. That's why serious dementia cases in US. We have less dementia cases for the percentage of population that we have. Now back to the language issue. How did these languages evolve? Because what we speak today was not there few hundred to few thousand years back. Any difference between the spoken and written form? For example, we know languages like Tulu, Kurgi, Sanketi, all these have no script. Okay, so the written form of language expression is far significantly smaller than the spoken form. We have about 400 to 600 spoken languages in India, and only about 14 to 15 have script. Okay. The other question, is there one source for all the languages? Specific to India, what can we say about this? Have other knowledge systems faced such issues as we face? How did they solve that? Some answers. Languages have been part of human evolution, quite recent on time scale. Language, speaking in a language is a very recent evolutionary development. Even more recent is writing. Writing was just yesterday. Speaking was about last month. Yeah. We need to understand different phases of human evolution to understand. So let's go back in time and see this. This is how human migration seems to have happened. There is both anthropological and genetic data for this. Supposedly, the early humans came out of Africa, the famous out of Africa theory, not in one burst, but in sequence of migration. And they came and populated, obviously, the Asian subcontinent and the southern Europe. And later, paths took them all the way. This was part of the ice age where it was land continuously. So they all migrated. So this migration is, human population here is between 15,000 and 10,000 years. Okay. Here it's about 50,000, 40 to 50,000 around here. And we have had people a million years back. Okay. So out of Africa theory is more popular, but there are also parallel theories saying simultaneous evolution of humans may have happened at different places. Okay. When you say different places, predominantly tropical zone in Africa, Indian subcontinent, or Southeast Asia. But out of Africa, theory holds more water than anything. And this is also true, okay, for various humans, starting from earliest Homo erectus, all the way Neanderthals and now sapiens. What they have clearly understood is that the brain volume, okay, so the earliest 6 million years back, the brain volume was less than 500 cc. The Homo erectus, which had about a million years back, had about 1000 cc. The Neanderthals bordering the sapiens, what we are today, is about 1500 cc in volume, which means the earliest humans to now, our brain size has increased by 3 times the volume. Okay. What this means is the following. You see, the amount of language diversity in the world, this is Indian subcontinent, this is Africa, this is Central Europe, and this is West Europe. This is North America, this is Central America, and this is South America. This is Southeast Asia, including bit of Africa, Australia. So here, Africa is very rich. So is Asia, both Indian subcontinent. Very little of Europe, very, very little of North America. Little of Central America is rich. South America also is just okay. Okay. So this is the language diversity. Not surprising that language diversity is also cultural diversity. Cultural diversity is also strength of the society. So what one calls anatomically modern humans, there was a split between the Neanderthals and anatomically modern humans who dominated the Neanderthals eventually. And this is typically how it happened. Okay. Slowly psychological and behavior changes happened, which allowed modern, anatomically modern humans to actually look at better language models. For example, here, the grammar features, two-slot, transitive, highly hierarchical syntax was developed. Okay. Both physiological and behavioral changes like this. They could handle less complex languages, whereas we can handle a lot more complex languages. One of the reasons is changes in brain and cognition, increase social complexity. You are meeting different kinds of people with different language and behavior. More interesting is because you are no more a hunter-gatherer, but you are settled in a town or in a village. You have increased juvenile period. You see here, typically, children are with us till age 5, 6. Earlier, they were there till 3. Now, 5 to 6, they are there with us. And that's why today you see younger, very young generation, they speak so much, so early. And increased parenting behavior, both of which are not there in other mammals. Any mammals in the forest, within a week or 10 days, the child is autonomous and independent. Otherwise, it will not survive. And teaching through input enhancement, making them write, making them spell, making them repeat the words. We all do that to children, which is not done in other mammals. Okay. So tremendous amount of physiological and behavioral changes has resulted in our capacity to handle multilingualism. Just see how languages have changed. Just take the English itself. The earliest English is around 200 BC, which is dominated by Celtics. You still have remains of that. For example, all the continuous tense is adding with the word ing, ing in the end. It comes from Celtic background. Then because of Roman occupation, Latin words got in. Because of Germanic settlements, Anglo-Saxon words. Viking invasion, Old Norse words, which has 1% of English today. Then Norman invasion, Anglo-Norman French words. Then Renaissance mixing, French, Latin, Greek, and Italian words came in. Then because of colonialism, Hindi, Persian, Arabic, Turkish, Malay, and American English words also got in. So late modern English is here, which means English as a language is still evolving. So are other languages. One reason English evolves maximum is because they have allowed tremendous amount of interaction from others. And you can see here, Shakespearean English to today's English is quite different. And even the early English is even more different. Okay. It's like our Halagannada and Hosa Kannada. Okay. Yeah. Can we map some of these issues? What influence Greek had on languages? What about Romans? What have Persians done on languages? What about Sanskrit? What about Dravidian languages? What about numerous languages that have no script like Kodava, Konkani, Sanketi? The other thing is, are languages imposed? How is the governance connected with language? These are the questions we want to answer. For example, court language in India was Persian for about 700 years under both the Delhi Sultanates and the Mughals. Very strangely, out of the blue, in 1785, court language was made Persian in the Mysore kingdom. Suddenly, out of the, it was such a problem for the masses, even for the ruling class, because very few people knew Persian. And you trust somebody who knows Persian, there is no guarantee that what he says and what he writes for you is beneficial to you or according to the law. This is exactly the problem we have with English as a court language. Many villagers and illiterate people have been cheated for the last 250 years by various affidavits which don't carry justice for them. English was the court and administrative language from 1825 till 1947, and it continues. Puducherry and other places had French, and Goa had Portuguese as official language. China is facing a more serious problem regarding English because it has no base of English. Whereas we had a base of English, we could catch up. Today, the most important occupation in China is to be an excellent English trainer, not a teacher, English trainer, highly paid, highly sought after. So while this is not perfect yet, all the research done so far here to indicate that around 4500 BCE, which is about 6,500 years back, we probably had a single Proto-Indo-European language from which all these languages emerge eventually. Okay. Germanic, Celtic, Anatolian, Indo-Iranian, Balto-Slavic. And you can see here, languages on this group are quite similar. Languages on this group are quite similar. And some languages have stopped evolving, gone. For example, the Albanian language. No other, same is the Armenian and the Greek. Similarly here, Anatolian, Hittite, it stopped. Whereas the Indo-Iranian split to Indo-Aryan and Iranian language. From Indo-Aryan, we got Vedic Sanskrit. From there, we got the classical Sanskrit and the written form more through Prakrit, which led to all this Magadhi and Marathi. Then Central Indic languages, lastly Hindustani, and one of the most recent languages, Hindi. I don't know why we are, going gaga over Hindi. Hindi is one of the most recently evolved language. Okay. And they are very close cousins, all this. Lot of, Persian and Parsi words. So are these Slavic languages. I'll come to that. Lithuanian and Russian language have lot of similarity with Sanskrit. Okay. So this group is one and this group. A lot of research is going on, not very conclusive, but these are reasonably indicative. Okay. Fact that most languages are rooted, the Proto-Indo-European language for do is do, D-W-O-H. And these are all the various languages which have the word Latin as duo. Okay. Do. Then here, Lithuanian du, Latvian di. Similarly here, Sanskrit dvi, don, dui, do, zi, dua, all this Balochi. So plenty of common origin seems quite convincing. Okay. And you will see much more of this here. See, Indo-European languages. Sanskrit dvi, Serbian dva, English 2, Sanskrit tri, Serbian tri, 3. very similar. If you study linguistics, you will clearly understand so much of similarity, okay? Giving conviction that they must have had a common origin. And first evidence for bilingual writing, perhaps a translation, you find it in the Sumerian period of 2270 BC. This is same thing translated. Script is the same, language is different. And you see a more accurate version. You see here in Eastern Turkey, King Xerxes I, in the year 516 to 485 BC, which is approximately 2,750 years, written in Old Persian is one language, Elamite is the other language, Akkadian is the third language, but having same script, cuneiform script, 3 languages. This is the inscription done, okay? Same script, but message in 3 different languages. Similar is the most famous, what one calls the Rosetta Stone, which is now in the British Museum. It was discovered in 1799. It was multilingualism, was a necessity in strong economic cultures. See, if you want to do software, you need to know English. That's the reason why a large percentage of population in Bangalore know English compared to the same percentage in the rest of Karnataka. So here, during the time of Egyptian rule, you can see here one message in Egyptian hieroglyphics, the same message written in Demotic language, which is the language of Coptic Christians today, same language what Jesus Christ used, and ancient Greek, because Greek had also occupied Egypt. There were a lot of trade, and Cleopatra herself comes from one line of the Greek Empire. She is half Greek, half Egyptian. So this is how this linguist Jean-Francis Champollion in France deciphered hieroglyphics which was not known, because he knew ancient Greek and he knew Demotic language. And since this had the same information as these two, he was able to decipher hieroglyphics. And unfortunately, such a thing has not happened with Indus script yet, okay? Even though a very interesting person called Yagnadevam he is basically from Mysore, now settled in US. He has done impressive work to decode the hieroglyph, the Indus script, but still not accepted by the mainstream because there are so many issues. But the last unknown language is still the Indus script. And you see here, 2nd century current era, 2000 years back in Athens, library, the statement there says, library is open from sunrise to noon. No book is to be taken out. And while you are entering the library, you have to put an oath saying, I will not take the book out. So stealing of books perhaps was a problem even then. So look at the ancient silk and golden route, which moved all the way from Greece to Eastern China, all the way to Southeast Asia. This is exactly how trade went about expanding language, culture, dress, food habits, etc., all that. It's quite likely that region here brought idli to South India, because baking a fermented pulses and millets in a pot-like thing made out of turmeric leaf is a common practice in Southeast Asia. So perhaps idli and other things may have come from here to South India, okay? And many other things, okay? So food, dress, language, culture and customs, music, literature, all that have, trade has done amazingly good and amazingly bad. Yeah. So very interesting inscription in Greek. This is a Greek inscription done in 133 AD. And it is in on the western side of the Hindu Kush mountain in Afghanistan. It dates to Kushan period, which also had Greek influence very strongly. And that inscription is here. Okay, the Hindu Kush mountain pass is here. The Karakoram ranges is here. This is a Rabatak inscription. That inscription is interesting because it refers to inserted text mentions Hindus, God, Mahasena. It also mentions Kausambi, Sri Kampa, Patliputra, and Saketa. In fact, in the Ram Janmabhoomi dispute in court, this inscription was used as one of the evidences to show that Ayodhya as a town was known and mentioned by people far away in an inscription. Yeah. So Sanskrit seems to have come from Central Asia or southern part of the Caspian Sea. There was a kingdom for some time which was called the Mitanni. And this Mitanni kingdom has words which closely resemble Sanskrit words. We know Sanskrit came from West Asia, Central Asia, and it evolved around what is today Afghanistan, because for example, the great grammarian Panini is from western part of Takshashila. So he's from what is today modern Afghanistan, but those days it was one great Indian kingdom, whatever you call it. So the North Indian Aryan languages seem to have started with Vedic Sanskrit, which was only oral. Then it led to written Sanskrit. It also developed Prakrit, and Prakrit eventually developed Magadhi language, which took care of Odia, Bangla, Assamese, Bihari, Bhojpuri, Mithali. Then Shauraseni, which is Saurashtra side, which had all these, okay. Then it had a Pali, then the Maharashtrian, Marathi and Konkani. It had this thing which also had Sinhala. Then it had West Indic, which is Marwari, Gujarati and Ramani. Dardic, which had Kashmiri language. Pahadi language, which had Kumaon, Gadwali and Nepali language. And then finally Hindustani, which had Hindi and Urdu. From there, Hindi became Haryani. Urdu led to all this, okay? So this is typically how the linguistic breakup of languages today is. And another viewpoint is Austro-Asiatic, the Munda, the Indo-Iranian pre-Vedic and the Dravidian may have contributed to Prakrit, from where Sanskrit originated. The rest of it is quite clear. From Prakrit, all this emerged. Okay, so what about this and this? We will take a look at that. Oral and written tradition, renowned Indologist from Harvard University. The Vedic texts were orally composed and transmitted without the use of script in an unbroken line of transmission from teacher to student that was formalized early on. This ensured an impeccable textual transmission superior to the classical texts of other cultures which had writing. It is in fact something like a tape recording of years 1500 BCE to 500. Not just the actual words, but even the long lost musical tonal accent. For example, what is lost now? Ancient Greek and ancient Japanese were also musical languages like Sanskrit. Whereas they are lost, what you have is modern Greek and modern Japanese, which have removed all the musical content because there is no more oral tradition. In written tradition, you can't continue the musical nature of language, which only the Vedas seem to have preserved. Okay. And for those of you who are in Karnataka, Andhra, Maharashtra and all, I think it's worth visiting this place, either Maski, which is near Raichur, or go to Brahmagiri, which is near Ballari, where you will find the first Ashoka's inscription written in Brahmi script. Okay. This is the first proof of writing we find in Indian subcontinent. Okay. It dates to about 243 BCE. So this is in Brahmi script. And the Brahmi script is interesting that there are a lot of similarities with Brahmi script with West Asian Phoenicians and early Greek. Okay. See, this is Brahmi script, whereas this is Phoenician script. Okay. And the development of Brahmi from here, it has gone like this. And today you see this modern version. Okay. What you see in Devanagari script. Okay. So the Devanagari script developed around 10th, 11th century current year. That's about 1000 years back.
अरे मलाई पर टेबल ठेवली मला पण ते काय कळलं.
This is an interesting tree of language. Starts with Indo-European, branches to Indo-Iranian, then Indo-Aryan, then the European languages, predominantly Germanic to top with, then the Romance, which is the Romanian language, Russian, Spanish, everything, and eventually in the end is English. Okay. This is Proto-Indo-European languages, then Albanian, Armenian, Balto-Slavic, Indo-Iranian, Anatolian, all this. But now you finally have Sanskrit from these, all these. Then the Dardic has Kashmiri and Dardic languages. Iranian has Old Persian, Pashto, Kurdish, Balochis, all this. Okay. Names of writing script used by India's 22 scheduled languages. Even though there are 22 scheduled languages, script is common here. Devanagari script, everything in yellow. Marathi, and then there is Sindhi here. Odia, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, and Malayalam. Malayalam again is a new language, about 10th, 11th century only. Okay. Then there are many other, all of them adopt Devanagari, even though they have other things. Okay. So there's very interesting thing about the Dravidian language. What you find is that Dravidian languages here, dominated by Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, and Malayalam. You also have Tulu and Kodava and all these Gondi and tribal languages, most of them who have no script, but these have their own script. What is interesting is there is a fairly big district bordering Afghanistan and Pakistan, where Brahui is a language which is used, and Brahui has lot of commonness with Dravidian languages, more particularly Tamil. So this issue is now a serious socio-cultural, various other issues, because it's unfortunately a North Indian, South Indian problem now. And we want to know whether Dravidian language predate the Aryan language, Aryo-Indian, Indo-Aryan language like Hindi and other things. Okay. There are also some genetic mapping done by the Sumerian, which is the central West Asian region, and matches with the Tamil genetic makeup, ancient ancestor, South Indian, etc., all that. Okay. So the new theory is about 8000 BC. The Proto-Dravidian language here must have come to Indus Valley civilization. And 4000 BC, the Indus Valley civilization people must have moved south. That's one of the theory and speculation. So a lot of anthropological and archaeological things, excavation, particularly what's going on in Keeladi and others in Tamil Nadu now. All these have some influence and say and counter say and lot of language, politics that's going on. But we know for a fact that the Proto-Dravidian broke up into North, South, and Central. And in the South Dravidian first group had Tamil, Malayalam, Kodagu, Krumba, Toda, Kota, all that. And the Proto-South group had Telugu, Gondi, and all that. And then many other things. Okay. Central this thing did not have much script. Okay. Kannada also came here. Okay. Tulu also came here. And these dotted ones are ones which have no script. So is there, for example, you have a Proto-Dravidian, you have a Northern Dravidian, a Central Dravidian, and a Southern Dravidian. Southern Dravidian straight away went to Tulu, which has no script, whereas this went to Tamil Kannada script, and then Toda and Kota also came, Kannada and Kodagu also came, later Tamil, Malayalam, and Irula. So many things are there. We have about 220 million people who speak Dravidian languages. Then there is a lot of issues we need to look at. Okay. We had 600 languages with 80 scripts. Today we have about 400, 450 languages, 22 national scripts, and so on and so forth. Okay. And the languages themselves have got reformed, and more particularly after the great work of Panini, where he did Ashtyaadi, basically perfected the grammar. And that grammar includes all types of grammar, starting from finite language to context-free languages, which are ours, and context-sensitive languages, which are most of what we talk. Unambiguous context-free languages and all these come under, further come under deterministic context-free language. All these come under computer programs, okay? What one calls Backus-Naur form, okay? So this is typically where a lot of linguistics work has been done. And today what's happening is interesting and disturbing. Interesting because they are allowing us to do amazing things, and disturbing because it is killing all the diversity and talent. Okay. For example, the famous Chat GPT and other things, basically they use what is called the large language model. And then what they do is, forever there is a converter from Hindi to English. Then you have a converter from English to Marathi. And you don't need, using these two, you can directly do Hindi to Marathi. Okay. So take a decoder of Marathi, take an encoder of Hindi and do it. So this is typically what is happening. Today, LLMs have become the business for Meta, Google, Facebook, all of them. And I don't know what we are heading for. We are definitely able to access information in other language without knowing that language. So knowing a language and knowing the people with that language, and so today instead of seeing a face, we are seeing Facebook. And the Facebook person is 10,000 miles away. If I have an emergency tomorrow, he is not there to help me. But he is my very good friend because he is 10,000 miles away, conveniently away. Okay. And we don't even know whether he's an actual human being, whether he's a fake, what gender he is, etc., etc., etc. We seem to have got into a trap of falling into all stupid things. And the younger generation has made it worse. I don't know where we are heading. I have to leave this on a sorry note. Some observations. Three language formula is very useful. It would be very interesting to have first language as mother tongue. Let it be either Dravidian or Devanagari, doesn't matter. Second language can be English because it's an economic language and a compulsory language. Third language must be reverse. It must be those who have mother tongue Dravidian should learn Devanagari, and those whose mother tongue is Devanagari should learn Dravidian language. Only then there will be peace and quiet. If they expect South Indians to learn Devanagari and North Indians don't want to learn Dravidian language, it is where not only they are actually causing, it's actually an insult to humans. Okay. If you still want a fourth language, Spanish, Russian, Japanese, or any of the Slavic languages will be very useful. Spanish, because the whole of Central and South America is a land of opportunities next, where Spanish run. Russian, because Russia is the world's largest country with the smallest population, which is declining. So in another 5 years, Russia will be importing people. Okay. Japanese, because the same reason. There is absolutely no way the Japanese population will stabilize. They're rapidly falling, and it's a completely geriatric society. So knowing Japanese gives you opportunity socially and economically. And a Slavic language again has this advantage because it is thinly populated. It's much closer to Sanskrit and other Indo-Aryan, Indo-Iranian languages. And there are a lot of opportunities for people there. There are problems. Spanish is not such a big problem because 70% of the Spanish nations are tropical and subtropical. Russian, a little problem because 6 months you are in very cold climate. Japanese, again, 6 months you are in cold climate. Slavic, 8 months you are in cold climate. This is the problem. Otherwise, this choice of making North Indians learn a South Indian language or Devanagari to learn Dravidian as third language and Dravidians to learn Devanagari as third language is a very good, healthy solution for the whole country. In conclusion, what are the benefits of learning multiple languages? As youth, you have better cognition. Bilingual students outperform monolingual students in forming scientific hypotheses. Life skills. Bilingual children develop superior attention, mental flexibility, and memory. Test scores. Bilingual students do better on standardized tests in maths, reading, and vocabulary. What about in adult stage? College success. High school students who study languages do better academically in college. Higher earnings. Additional lifetime earning of a bilingual worker can be as much as $128,000 extra. Employability. 88% of the job recruiters say speaking more than one language is critical for business success. Today, you can see so many English tutoring happening in remote villages. What is it they're doing? They're asking them to learn English to say yes, no, maybe yes, I want this, I don't want this, mainly to make them more labor for blue and white collars. Basically, if you see now, 50% of the restaurants are having people from other states who just know to take orders and serve. They may not even be able to read a full newspaper in their life or even one paragraph of English, but they know how to take orders and respond. Yes, sir, I'll bring it. You want more chutney, more sambar. That's the type, okay? In mature years, bilingual adults who get Alzheimer's disease suffer less brain damages who already have multilingual. Bilingual adults are twice as likely to retain full brain function after a paralytic stroke. Longevity, onset of Alzheimer's disease is delayed by 4 to 5 years in bilingual adults. Okay. And brain growth, learning a language at any age makes your brain grow. So obviously, multilingualism, and that's one reason we have very less mental health problems in India, because we can articulate our problems in different languages with different people. That is one thing. Okay. Yeah. Now time for questions. Feel free to ask about this or anything else related, or